This is Dean Phillips, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dean Phillips. And Dean Phillips is running for the Democratic nomination. And he went to a Trump rally and said, my party is completely delusional because they're attacking MAGA Republicans. Because apparently he's willing to help, I guess, feed them this idea that there is no distinction between MAGA and Republicans. They're all the same.
Most of the people in the country are going to the Trump rally right now because he's listening to them.
No, they are not. The numbers are way fucking down. I would like a president that can count.
No one's asking about this stuff. I'm just frustrated. I hope you understand.
What about the flat earth?
Understand why I'm getting tired of it. You're doing your jobs, but you're not asking the questions that Americans give a shit about.
Why don't you just say the programs you're going to do and go, I appreciate that, but I would rather talk about this. You just kind of sound like a douchebag. This is one of these people who's labored under the idea that labors under the idea that the press tees up the world for the Bidens of the world, and they don't have to work at all, and they don't have to reshape the message, or they don't have, a team that works on stuff all the fucking time. It just magically happens. Like, they just give it to them. And so when they walk into a situation where they don't give you the question you want so you can run away with it, you think you're being cheated. It isn't that you're not getting something that nobody else gets either. You think someone else is getting a leg up and you're not getting that leg up, so you act like you're being treated unfairly. You ain't.
Yeah, they're not asking the right questions.
What question should they ask? Lady in pumpkin cardboard.
That was Democratic presidential.
What is happening over here? Honest to God, it looks like you're wearing an orange takeout box.
Candidate Dean Phillips laying into the media for ignoring Americans' concerns.
Dear God. Thankfully somebody is doing it. You know what I mean? Like, laying into them in front of that flag in that place on a phone. I'm sure they heard.
And Trump voters. Later, Phillips took a shot at his fellow Democrats. Watch.
I got to tell you guys, I went to a Donald Trump rally.
Really? I'm surprised you're not at all of them. All right. Haven't I seen you wearing a suit that looks like a wall?
Nights ago. Never been to one.
Uh-huh.
I had an event across the street. I saw the line of people waiting in the cold for hours.
And noticed there wasn't one for yours. And you had some free time.
And I thought, what the heck? I'm going to be a leader who actually invites people, doesn't condemn them.
You went to invite the Trumpies to your place. Like, hi, I'm Dean Phillips. I'm running for the Democratic nomination. Would you like to come to my rally instead of Donald Trump's, since he's going to say the same shit anyways?
Probably 50 Trump people waiting in line.
50? Oh, my God. You went to one of the good ones. Jesus.
Even outside, it's packed.
50? That would increase the number of people, including you, by 5,000%.
Every single one of them, thoughtful, hospitable, friendly, all of them.
Cold, mostly cold.
Them so frustrated that they feel no.
Yes, it is, Tony. Yes, it is.
Nobody's listening to them but Donald Trump. A diverse crowd, people who had never been to a Trump event before. My party.
Because they didn't know to show up early because they were going to be muscled out by the front row Joes who got there in their Winnebago 3 days ahead of time. We had no idea. We showed up. We thought we could just walk right in like you can normally. But apparently this is a cult.
He is completely delusional.
Tudor, truer words never spoken. And the only qualifier to this is it makes me a little sad.
It makes me a little sad that who didn't give her, Kayleigh McEnany the memo that you're supposed to wear primary pastels? Also, be careful going to this lady, what her talking points are, because never wear green. Not now. Not now. Don't do it. There's a little bit of green in the trees of this snowman shirt. You can see it flickering. See that? Gives you a kind of accident. But it's not so much that you could fill it with anything, and I'm smart enough to wear a jacket. But man, you're wearing a whole fucking green screen outfit? Are you nuts?
Never spoken. And the only qualifier to this is it makes me a little sad that he had to just talk directly to Trump voters to see, oh my gosh, they're just like us. Of course they are, because we are all.
No. Those are people who had never been to a Trump rally. Those aren't Trump voters. Those are Republicans in that state who went to see the rally to see if it was more, who didn't know you have to show up at fucking 6 a.m. to get inside on these tiny little places because of the people who aren't from the state who will muscle their way into it.
All Americans, and we are all facing the same issues. And those.
So you're upset because Navarro's attorney called people commies? Is that?
Those guys are facing the singular issue of not being listened to, except for by one candidate.
But this message of MAGA extremist has painted an entire 75 million people as.
No, they're not all MAGA. That's why do you think she got nearly 50% in New Hampshire, dum-dum?
These crazy people, right? And Kayleigh knows I used to be the person in line with all of those folks interviewing people. And he's exactly right. Diverse group, dedicated.
Yeah, they like all kinds of music, country and Western. They're a diverse group of people. These people, some of them think the earth is flat. Others think it's shaped like a bowl. Some of them believe that we live on an origami duck. It's a diverse group of people, but what they all agree on is that Joe Biden is actually Randy Quaid in a suit.
Dedicated to the country, not just dedicated to Trump. That's what people think. These are people who just love Trump. No, they love America. I've been when it's been below zero.
They only love America when Trump's in charge of it, though. That's the thing. They love the word. There's a little more work to it than that.
Been when it's been 100 degrees. They are dedicated because they feel like this country needs to be brought back. And that's
right. I don't know. What was that phrase again we kept hearing? Fuck your feelings. Show me measured areas where it needs to be brought back. Perhaps we'll find some agreement. And then bring to the table your solution to bring it back to those things, the actual material changes you would like to make. And we'll have a conversation. That's what bipartisan legislation is about.
What he saw genuinely loving people. And I love
yeah, who are like, yeah, I'll go inside. It's fucking freezing out here.
That he went out there and said that. And I think CNN was probably like, we've been told the truth on.
We've been told the truth on. That happens. It happens. Some of us get told the truth on the regular.
and Kevin, it's really hard, I think, to truly explain or to truly convey.
Yes, totally.
The amount of rejection that Americans feel. And in that rejection.
Because Trump lost?
To see every day and to have reinstated every day, reinforced that everyone else is better than you are.
Jesus Christ. What? What are you talking? Like Donald? That's Donald Trump's raison d'etre. That's his entire argument is that he's better than everyone else. Are you kidding me?
Let's take a walk down memory lane. This is just some of the examples of Democrats and the media repeatedly bashing Trump supporters and Republicans. Let's watch.
All right, let's do it. Like people get okay. They're going to go to a basket of deplorables because she said a good portion of Republicans you can converse with, but
you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
Half? Bitch, she didn't say half. She said 75 million people. That's not half. Half is 30 some odd. 38, maybe, wiggle room, 35. I don't know if you pin them up. It depends on if they like the basket or not, I suppose.
Credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one and y'all elitists are dumb.
You
That's a Republican, by the way.
lead us with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though my
your math and your reading.
Maybe there needs to be a
Yeah, that's it. Kind of funny. Yeah.
formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
You're going to have rural people out there voting their craziness about the cult.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country.
All right. Real quick, why is Rachel Maddow saying we're worried about the rise of fascism in this country when you've got like fucking Patriot Front marching places and Donald Trump saying very fine people about the tiki torch fuckers and that kind of shit? That's a reasonable worry. Is it slightly overstated? Do they not have kind of the ground game people thought? Sure. Everybody was very worried about Russia until they attacked Ukraine. You're like, wow, these motherfuckers can't find their ass with both hands. They suck. What the second greatest military in the world? Bullshit. Same thing with China's economy. But leading up to that, there was some concern because the signs and what you were kind of hearing in general point in that direction. Am I worried about fascism taking over the United States? No. No, I am not.
Leader who is trying to do that is part of that equation. But people wanting that is a much bigger part of that equation.
Trump and his mouth.
Right, yeah. It's more than just the guy. If you have to have an audience, and concern about that audience growing even slightly is dangerous and stupid, and yeah.
MAGA supporters not only embrace political violence, but they laugh about it.
Yeah, they do.
How can there be any question about how these Americans feel when we see things like that?
How these Americans feel when, well, I don't know. Did they hear any of it or were they busy laughing about political violence?
Well, listen, I'm one of the Democrats on Fox News. I believe in communication and reaching out and engaging. And some of the most authentic conversations I've had with people are people who watch Fox, right? Who are great.
You're not having you work at Fox now.
To hear a different perspective, and I engage with those folks. I will never attack a voter for Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, whomever. I will gladly take on their policies, right, and fight every day against them. But I think, I'm a Democrat that wants the biggest tent possible. I want to reach out to disaffected Trump voters.
Great. But all you're doing is just avoiding the label conversation. What she's having conversation about is that MAGA applies to everybody. And Hillary Clinton's basically saying, and Biden even are saying, MAGA doesn't apply to everybody. It applies to this particular group. And this particular group has the reins on the rest of these folks. And if they didn't, we could talk to these folks and we'd be back to a much more normal back and forth about real political ideas, the kind of stuff you're allegedly talking about here. Fuck off.
Independence. That's how we win again as Democrats, like we did in 2020, and not castigate anyone. I'm marrying a Republican next month, right? So, I mean, it starts at home for me.
Yeah. So what'd you get? Did they set you up with a wife at Fox? Is that how it works?
And again, I think we got to come back to that because, Emily, to your point, we're Americans first. And to Tudor's point, when you drown out, the other side, you risk losing yourself.
Yeah.
How are we drowning them out? You're allowed to directly criticize, and if a group of people wears hats with a fucking moniker on it, and they address it as like a piece of a uniform, and you ain't in the game unless you own the hat, then you can draw attention to that particular cult-like superstitious behavior.
Lucky you and lucky him.
Amen. He's
and
a lucky
Harris,
guy.
as Kevin said, frankly, that's sort of a minority opinion within that party and within the media. That's what we're being faced with every day, that avalanche.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Emily, it's interesting.
By the way, can we just say for a second, we've come a long way. A gay man is marrying a gay conservative, and he mentioned it on Fox News, and the Fox News hosts all had to say congratulations. They just, and it might have even, and I actually believe it was to some degree genuine. Let me tell you something. That the toothpaste does not go back in the tube, and this is just recognize that like mile marker.
It is a minority opinion, but it's changing a bit. And, maybe those 14 Democrats who joined the Republican-led resolution to condemn Biden's border crisis just last week, maybe they're part of that growing voice. Maybe Dean Phillips,
because they were trying to get votes for the border bill, stupid.
Sat next to me yesterday and managed to scoop up 20% of the vote against a write-in of an incumbent president. Maybe he's that, because what he told me was both sides need to recognize each other. He said, but his particular side needs to stop calling names and so on and so forth. And then we had Sununu come on later and call names. So,
Right, who's a Republican.
And so Dean Phillips is right about that. So maybe there's a crack of daylight somewhere for Democrats to stop seeing Republican voters as the enemy.
The fuck are you talking about? First of all, Biden got the infrastructure bill passed bipartisan. It was a bipartisan bill. It's benefiting all these places. The problem is all the Republicans in all those states are castigating this bill, pretending it doesn't exist or lying about it. And then, as Biden says, see at the ribbon cutting, they all show up to applaud themselves for shit they voted against.
But it's going to take some time. And
yeah, it's going to take a little time. A little time to think things over.
Meantime,
gotta read between the lines.
What happens? You know, I mean, they could lose elections because maybe they.
In my life, sorry, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again.
They're ostracizing others.
You ever get a song stuck in your head? You do now.
People, black voters feel
now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life.
Like they're being replaced by illegal immigrants right now, some of them in Chicago.
Some of them are being replaced by illegal immigrants in Chicago.
Their resources are being drowned out by
Their resources are being drowned out
by Biden's border policies.
No, they aren't. He didn't send those people up from Texas. The federal government sends a shit ton of resources for people coming across the border, specifically to Texas, and pays for it. It's one of the reasons why Texas has a strong economy as they do, is that they write off almost all, like, something like 50% of their law enforcement is written off as border protection, even in the north of the state.
And unfortunately, Kaylee, though, if there is daylight, it is being eclipsed by the continued vitriol coming out of the media and the left.
That's the thing about, an eclipse. All right, stop right there, and I'll bring back the sun.
Martin Gurry in the Free Press bashing Trump voters, saying the retreat from democracy is most evident in the visceral contempt for the voters. The implications are clear. Not only Trump, but the nearly 75 million Americans who voted for him must be silenced and crushed, Kaylee. He writes to say,
oh my God, what did the Free Press say? The Free Press? Well, they know about anything. I mean, they can't even charge money for their thing. I mean, obviously.
Democracy, it must be modified by a possessive, our democracy, because only one side of the political divide has legitimacy, and that's published?
Yeah, that is unbelievable, but...
No, it's quite believable. It's an extreme side of the argument, but... Bring on, here, real quick, before you move any further, Kelly McEnany, call over one of the Republican staffers that's always hanging around Fox News, one of the people who are like hardcore conservatives. Ask him if we're a democracy, live on the air. Just ask him. Think they're going to say yes? And if you push back and say, they're going to say, we're a republic. And you're like, yes, but we choose our leaders through democratic means, through a democracy. No, we don't. We've always picked them through the Electoral College because it's about the land and control of that space, and not everybody, we were never meant to, blah, blah, blah. That's where they'll go. They'll go every fucking time. They won't stop at the, we're a republic. They'll dig fucking in. Dead serious. Anybody, except maybe the camera guys, who work at Fox News, call one of them over and ask them.
The President of the United States, President Biden, feeds into it. If you think differently than him on COVID, it's Neanderthal thinking. The vaccinated have a right to...
No. You can have your concerns. You can have your questions. Neanderthal thinking is, I think I'm going to shove a light bulb up my ass and drink bleach or fishbowl cleaner or take medicine that's for worms and hope I feel better because it turns out I didn't have COVID, but I did have worms for a long time. Who the fuck knew? That's kind of backwards thinking, and that's, it's Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal thinking is a great reference for that rather than just backwards. Although I think backwards very much works. I think it would serve the Republicans, or it would serve the Democrats in terms of a Republican talking point to call it, the backwards party, the party of, or backwards points. Yeah. So there you go.
Be angry at the unvaccinated. If you think differently than him on voting rights, you're compared to a segregationist. If you're MAGA, you're a clear...
Well, yeah, but point out real quick, what does he think about voting? That every citizen who's over the age of 18 should have the right to vote, unless they are currently serving as for a felony in a state or federal pen. And then what's the other restriction part of it? Oh, that unless the state wants to provide an ID that is not transferable, specific to every individual citizen in the United States. The federal government provides it for them, that no state can take away, that you can use as an ID. Until that point, you can't have photo ID from a state, or their dictates on it, because they'll just remove it from you. They'll charge money for it. And if you charge money for the ID that you need to vote, that's a poll tax, and it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. Period. End of fucking story. No poll taxes. Voting is a right of every citizen over the age of 18. If you want to take that right away, you have to prove that that person doesn't have that right. And one of the best ways to do it, national federal ID. Everybody gets one. It's got all your important stuff on it. Not hackable would be preferable, obviously. And then it just has your main address, a phone number and an email associated with you, your social security number, and a couple other details, maybe a thumbprint encoded in it on the strip, right? And it's the highest level security technically that we can come up with, and you use that just like most state IDs do this exact same fucking thing. Most of them do that. But then just have a federal one. That's all. And you can still get your state ID. You can still use your driver's license from North Carolina or fucking Alabama if you want to. But if you don't have one of those, you've got one for free. And you need ID to buy bread.
Present danger. All those things happen. I saw Congressman Dean Phillips in New Hampshire, and I went up to him and I said, I just want to thank you.
Oh, that was sweet of you. No wonder he thinks Republicans are super, super sweet. Because you go up to the spoilers on the other side and go, you're awesome. Keep at it.
Thank you for saying what you said. And think about what he did. He came out of his event. He is a Democrat. He saw a Trump event going on. He didn't hop in a black car service and scurry away to, do whatever with his campaign. He went into a Trump rally, not knowing if he would be welcome, just to meet the voters and see what they're like, and then offered kind words.
And everybody was like, hey, we recognize you. You're the guy who's running against Biden and shit-talking your own fucking party. We love you.
How much better?
Where's Marianne Williamson? Is she your wife?
Where would we be as a society if a Republican said, hey, I want to get to know a Biden voter? If a Biden voter...
They do it all the time. What the fuck do you think purple districts are?
Said, hey, I want to get to know a Haley voter, or I want to get to know a Trump voter. We could dispel of this divide and get back to the common...
Oh my, first of all, she worked for the most divisive president we've ever had. And they keep trying to lay this off on fucking Obama, that racial issues came up because he was fucking black. Like, his immutable characteristics are his fault in this thing, not us, not our fucking response, right? Not our dealing with it. It's the fact that he's a black man, that's what was so divisive. Meanwhile, Trump can just shit talk everybody. He can fuck states out of protective equipment during a pandemic because the governor isn't sucking up to him.
We have as American citizens first.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen. Hey, everyone.
By the way, I would just like to point out also that one of the reasons why Republicans are panicking is because at the center of the four ladies on that thing was a gay man who's a Democrat who's marrying a gay Republican, and he just said amen at the end. Can you imagine the pearl clutching that is going on? If I can normalizing the gay over at Fox, what the shit? Yeah, they are. Yeah. And I'm for it, by the way. Good on them. Very nice of them. Could have been a lot worse. Very sweet. And congratulations on his nuptials.